Another radical component of No Child Left Behind is that it served to debunk myths around student populations. MALDEF, we're very concerned with English language learners. 10 years ago, there was there were misconceptions around ELLs were prevalent. Generally, people considered that these were all immigrant students with limited or no or interrupted formal education. Now, you're no longer able to rest on that assumption and not provide these kids an adequate education. And in fact, we have used much data and increased awareness about the ELL population to point out that these are actually citizen children who, with the right kind of teachers, with the right kind of curriculum, with the right resources, can and do learn. You'll also hear another constituency that's very supportive of the law has been organizations representing students with disabilities, who again, were often put in segregated separate classrooms. There was an assumption that these children could not access the regular curriculum, and now we have seen increased efforts to bring this student population into the fold of mainstream teaching. And maybe one of the more damaging is a widespread understanding prior to NCLB that poor children can't learn, that low-income children, because of social issues, are not able to access their curriculum. And No Child Left Behind does not accept poverty as an excuse for not teaching a student population. And that, again, is a radical improvement, and it's moved the ball forward in every school. Also, the data provides important teaching tools, and when you hear a school or a district that has not resisted but has actually used the data in order to improve teaching, this contemplates, again, these local revolutions where you have community leaders, school leaders, government officials coming together, determining which students aren't doing well, and using that data to refine practices. So, and then finally, in teacher quality, the students represented by the campaign organizations are much less likely to have a qualified teacher, and No Child Left Behind has moved the ball forward in that. A personal story, I was working as a consultant for the DC Public Schools, where there are teacher's aides who are teaching classes, teacher's aides without high school diplomas who are actually teaching elementary school classes. And this was not viewed as a problem prior to No Child Left Behind. I was actually hired to help them develop this core of teacher's aides, provide career ladders to make them qualified, and to ensure that we don't have effectively teacher's aides teaching classes without high school diplomas. So the transparency and the teacher quality pieces, certainly we have not gotten to where we need to be, but there have been significant improvements. What do we lose if we don't act? I mean, I think we lose the momentum that we have generated, the public will to reduce or eliminate achievement gaps. And we'll also lose several of the improvements that Bethany will discuss here in high school reform. And MALDEF, we've been very involved with improving the accountability system for English language learners. So I think in conclusion, I think we need to remember that this is a core civil rights law. I think that Wade did a tremendous job of situating it in that way, but this is a great society program that's race conscious in an area where we are much less likely to see race conscious federal statutes these days. It's also an economic competitiveness law, and Michael described very well how we're doing internationally. The results released this year showed that we're 24th in the world in math. This is not how we're going to remain economically competitive in the 21st century. And I'll conclude maybe with a story about my experience as a bilingual credentialed public school teacher in California prior to coming out here. Basically, I graduated from my teacher credentialing school, which did not adequately prepare me, by the way, to be a teacher. I was a high school English teacher for 12th graders. They gave me a key to the classroom, a key to the book room, and said, go do your thing. And I was evaluated twice in my first year by the vice principal who sits in the back of the room and takes notes. I happen to be committed to my profession. I happen to be committed to the children that I was teaching, and I like to think that I was able to figure out some good teaching. I had no mentor teacher. I had very little support. that's not the way, hiring teachers fresh out of undergrad or giving them a key to the classroom and paying them $30,000 and saying, go do your thing, that's not the way we're going to win the race in the 21st century. No Child Left Behind contemplates that the state leaders will assemble, decide what's important to teach our kids, that will measure what our kids will know. And that all kids have to have an adequate opportunity to learn. If they're not learning, the communities will gather, decide why that's not happening, and that there will be pressure to improve that. So I think with that, I will close it and look forward to your questions.